Welcome everybody to the web seminar of Architects for Future tonight about a very sustainable material, straw, with our guest Cypren. My name is Hans. I'm from Architects for Future, the local group from Zurich. I'll be moderating.
We can air the play still.
Oh God, and I'm going to mute all of you guys. So tonight, just so you know what we're going to do, we're going to have a little introduction. We're going to meet all of you. We're going to meet Cypren. Cypren's going to give a talk on the future of sustainable construction about straw building. And you guys have the chance after the talk to ask questions and have a little Q&A session. The goal is, though, that we finish around 8. And if you have any more burning questions, you can link up with Cypren on LinkedIn and maybe ask them there. As you've seen, we're going to record this session today and put it on YouTube after. If any of you guys who asked the question don't want to be seen on YouTube, just send us a message and we can delete that part where you're in. Before we go to Cypren, we don't see you guys. It'd be great. We want to, on the one hand, learn something tonight, but also connect with like-minded people. I would ask you to do 2 things just real quickly. Can you just for, let's say, 10 to 20 seconds, can you please put on your camera, your video camera? It'd be just great to see who you are, even just for a couple of seconds, but so we have an impression of all the people who are joining here tonight. That's awesome. Hello, everybody. You can turn them off in like 10 seconds, but it's a different feeling. Someone's in the sunshine. Wow, you're not from Switzerland. This is awesome. And on another note, I'm asking you, if possible, to mute your phones. Yeah. Also, it'd be great to know who's here. It's great to see you guys, but if you could just write your name and maybe your email address or your LinkedIn profile in the chat. So after the event, if you met someone that you thought asked an interesting question or something, you can connect and maybe stay in contact. I will do the same thing. Cypren is going to do the same thing. And before we introduce them, just so you know where you are with Architects for Future. We're a group of activists who work towards more sustainable building industry. I just put our website here in the chat. You see our 10 demands for the building industry. And if you're interested in a group, you find all information on it and ways how to connect with us on that webpage. Now, I want to keep this short and come to our guest of honor today, Cypren Edmunds. He's an expert in sustainable construction, specializing in straw. He's the chairperson of Straw Building UK, so he's joining us from the UK. He's the president also of the European Straw Bale Building Association, so he's connected all over Europe and all over the world. And he's had many years of practical expertise and policy advocacy that have been instrumental in establishing straw as a mainstream construction material. And I think that's what at least I want and many here want, to make this a more mainstream construction material. Now, anything else, Cypren will tell you. So I'm very, very happy to welcome you here to Architects for Future, and I give you the Zoom room, Cypren.
Thank you, Hans, and thank you, Architects for Future, for the opportunity to talk this evening. Good evening and welcome to all of you, wherever you are. I'm very jealous of JJ and that sunshine. It's freezing cold here in London. Right, everyone, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to start the presentation. Where is my presentation? Voila. C'est magnifique. Right, okay. That was French, by the way. Magnificent. So who am I? I am Cypren Edmunds. I am the chairperson of Straw Building UK, an organisation that is celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year. In addition to that, I'm the president of the European Straw Building Association, an organisation that represents straw building within Europe. So it does what it says on the tin. In this picture, just so you know. Try and focus on the image on the right-hand side. My colleagues and I are visiting the European Commission. We did so last year to talk about promoting and enhancing the benefits of straw as a material within Europe. So we met with several officers who work for and on behalf of the European Commission, and there will be more to tell about that later. So, some historical context. Straw building, where does it start from? So, Nebraska, the Americans started it many moons ago. The technique transferred over to Europe. In this particular shot, the two images that I've highlighted for your information are of the building in Montargis, which is in France. So if anybody were to ever say to you, how long can a building made out of straw stay and withstand any of the pressures from the environment, then look at what you can see here. The top image is from when it was first constructed in 1920, and it's still standing in 2025. The image below. It's made out of straw bales, incidentally. So why does straw matter, and why is it important to use it as a sustainable material? Well, as I'm sure many of you would know, I'm going to make this very wide-sweeping assumption that you're either architects or engineers, or you work in the built environment, or you have quite a high level of understanding about carbon emissions, is that operational carbon is very high within the globe, okay? We use a lot through production, through construction, specifically through maintenance and repair and replacement, and it just is not in a good position for us at the present moment in time. We really need to rectify this because there are a lot of alarming targets or numbers that people are throwing out, and we need to address this as soon as possible. And straw, as a bio-based material, is a solution. So in this graphic, the chart highlights the stark contrast in greenhouse gas emissions between conventional wall construction and straw insulated walls. Conventional walls typically produce over 50 kg of CO2 per square meter, contributing to climate change. In contrast, straw walls are carbon negative, sequestering nearly 100 kg of CO2 per square meter. So basically it locks it in, okay? And by scaling the use of straw in construction, we can significantly reduce the sector's carbon footprint while promoting renewable building practices. In this image, what I wanted to highlight to you are some real world examples, okay? The picture on the left-hand side is of a contractor using blown-in straw. So straw is coming up through the pipe and into the walls, okay? There are very many different methods with which you can use straw, and you can apply it through this method. The middle image is of a modern looking facility, and on the right is of a domestic or housing, social housing setup. So if people were to say to you, were these images made, or were these sites made of straw? You can say yes, quite confidently, because one of the misconceptions that people have is that straw buildings do not look modern. So it has meant that architects and engineers, surveyors, and the major housing developers are put off wanting to build with this material. You can see that this is very futuristic, it's modern, and it does what it does on the tin. An extended and more expansive picture from the image that I showed you just a bit in the last slide, you can see they have all of the mod cons. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this site whatsoever, and it's very appealing, very aesthetic to the modern eye. Let's go to the next one. The modern applications. So many people, what they tend to find for many people, building with straw comes across as quite a labor-intensive aspect, okay? So there are different types, as I showed you just a moment ago. You can have blown-in straw, or you can have straw bales, or as we're moving towards, or moving into the 21st century, there's engineered panelled systems. So on the left-hand side, the large image that you are seeing at this moment in time is of bales, and the contractor, who's very happy, smiling, and is demonstrating us, he's strapping in some bales which have been loaded in onto that site, okay? The image on the top right-hand side is of the finished site, the finished construction, and that image is of a site called the Bale House, which is situated in the UK, in England specifically. It's in an area called Hastings, and it was built by a team as part of a project called Upstraw, and the Upstraw project consisted of a pan-European, so as many European organizations coming together. So we had people from Germany, from Austria, from France, from the UK, from Belgium, all coming together to work, and many more coming together to work to build and enhance and promote straw building through the public sector. The image on the bottom right-hand side is one that is presently under construction at the moment. This is going to be the tallest building in the world. It's a 12-story site with timber and straw panels. The straw panels are made by an organization from Lithuania called EcoCocon. I suspect many of you may have heard of them, and they are growing and spreading across the continent, and if anything at all, actually spreading across Europe, across the world too. Their name is far and wide. So the regulatory landscape, where do we sit with this? What happens when you're working with straw? So certainly within Europe, there aren't many countries that have straw as part of their policy and as part of their setup in terms of the regulatory outlook. So what you tend to find is that organizations or companies that want to build with straw, you tend to find that they have to go through quite a lot of bureaucracy in order for them to complete the task. Now, given what I've just told you a moment ago about the benefits of building and working with straw, then this doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense, because anybody would be able to tell you that, or anybody with common sense to be able to tell you that building with straw would benefit everybody. So the occupant, the person who's living in the home or working in the building, is going to benefit because they're not going to be using so much energy. Therefore, the building will not be utilizing or using or expending so much in terms of fuel. Okay. And the image on the left-hand side is of the EU standard that was awarded to a straw building organization. And on the right-hand side is the straw EPD, which the UK acquired not too long ago, and Straw Building UK is in the process of finalising all of that. So we, Straw Building UK, will be owning the EPD, and the EPD stands for Environmental Product Declaration. And essentially what it does, it tells you a bit about the material. It tells you quite in depth. It's not a bit, it's quite in depth, and it tells you to a very large degree what that material comprises of and what it can do for you as an organization. In addition to the challenges and solutions, I would say that what are the lessons that we can learn? And more specifically, let's look at the positive lessons. So if I hark back and if I go back to the previous slide where I was saying that, you know, there are challenges in terms of the regulatory output, then let's look at the French, okay? The French have grasped this. They've taken it very much within their hearts and more specifically within their policy. So it's within their law, okay? And on the left-hand side, you can see one of the slides that I've utilized from my board member from ESBA, Charlotte. She's also a board member for the French Straw Building Association. And essentially what the French have done is that they've enclosed this within their law. So if you're going to build a new site, it's a regulation. You have to work with bio-based materials. So bio-based materials means working with natural materials. So it could be straw, it could be hemp. And what the French have done is that they've utilized this so that the contractors and the builders, the developers are now building at such a rapid rate that they are the leading straw building manufacturers or builders in the world. So not even America have caught up with these people. And on the right hand side, you can see there's an image and that was put up at the European Straw Building Gathering that was held in Denmark in 2023, where they very rightly boasted about the fact that they have built over 10,000 buildings made of straw. And what they are endeavoring to do, what they are wanting to do, is to build 500 sites per year. So they are far and away the leaders when it comes to building with straw. So a lot of people, when you tell them you're going to build a property with straw, the first thing they do is joke about the three little pigs. And then they ask about fire and if the building can withstand that. So what I've done, I've actually taken this from EcoCocon's site. And very recently, literally 2 months ago, they carried out a test. And there are lots of tests that have been carried out regarding straw buildings, but this is a very recent one which they acknowledged and publicized. So you can find this on LinkedIn. You can go to their profile and you can see this, okay? And the fundamental thing is the tested EcoCocon panels were 250 millimeters thick and withstood an open flame for 50 minutes, okay? So what this says to you and what this ought to illustrate to anybody who wants to build with straw is that you can do this. You very much can do this. And there is proof, there is documentation to show to anybody, to a planner, to the people in your local authorities who would want to question whether your site that you're building with straw could withstand the elements.
Cypren Edmunds.
It's there.
Oh.
So, the future outlook, what's there for us to look at? What can we do? What can we do about all of this, and where does the innovation come from, and what precisely can you do? For those of you who are sat at home and who are in your office who are listening to this, what's next for straw? So my suggestion, my call for action, call to arms, is for you to join a local network, to work with others, to find out more information. And if you don't have any information, I'm going to put in the chat some organizations that you can reach out to. It's very important for us to enhance this because we really do need to address the carbon emissions that we are utilizing and that we are emitting out to the atmosphere. If we don't do that, then we're not going to be reaching any of the targets that the administrators, the governments are suggesting that they want for us to work against. Okay. Policy shifts and mainstream adoption. That means you have to speak to your local member of parliament. When there are consultations that are out, if any of you are working with within architect organizations or engineering organizations, a lot of you will know that consultations go out to the general public, then engage with it. Yeah, don't just sit back and expect someone else to do it, because your voice matters. It really does. What I would also say is that you need to blend and to bring this material into the public and private environment. Yeah. So if you have clients, or if you have customers or friends or people who who want to build a new building, construct a new building, then go with straw. Yeah. The slides that I showed you just a moment ago demonstrate that straw is highly performing building material and surpasses so many of the conventional materials that we use today. And the links to FASBA, which is the German straw building network, the Straw Building Association, is there. I'm going to put that in the chat later as well. In addition, is the European Straw Building Association detail or website for you to reach out to, and go to it and don't hesitate. And if you have any questions, then by all means come back and speak to me. I'm going to finish off by saying thank you very much for the opportunity to talk, Hans. My details are there for any of you who want to get in touch. I'm going to hand the floor back to you. Is that okay?
Thank you, Cypren. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your introduction. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. It was very interesting to me. I would like to open the floor, though, to everybody here in the chat before I ask my own questions. If any one of you guys has a question for Cypren, we have about half an hour that you can ask him anything that comes to mind. Does anyone have a question? I would just see that it goes question by question. Maybe raise your hand in the Zoom chat or just switch on your video stream just so we know if you would like to ask him something. Is there anyone? I see Daniel Jekle, you just turn on your video. Does that mean that you have a question for Cypren?
Thank you. Actually, I do have thank you very much. I didn't turn on my video because I had a question, but I do have a question actually.
Go ahead, Daniel.
So, well, first of all, thank you very much for what you shared, and I'm very keen on hearing that resourceful materials such as straw or rammed earth. We've been working with rammed earth, are becoming more and more familiar. There is though so, and when talking about materials that are yeah, let's say that are that are sustainable and that are locally available. There is one part that kind of um, uh, kind of moved me when you were talking about the company that produces these elements, or that it produces insulation, and they're from Lithuania.
Yes.
And there is always this part of me that thinks, oh, it's cool that someone takes charge of it. And at the same time, I think, well, is it then the right way that we get this material from Lithuania, let's say, to Switzerland or to England, since it's material that we have locally available? And what do you see? What can we do to enhance or to yeah, to improve that market. I think those are often local materials that are very well available. And what do you see could be done to support local production of these really awesome materials?
Yeah. So if I'm right, are you asking, thank you for asking the question, but just so I can be clear, are you asking about the supply chain, localizing the supply chain, Daniel?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I can't speak for Earth. I'm not an expert when it comes to Earth building, or rammed Earth. But certainly from my experience regarding straw, the supply chain within Europe, it's not at the level that we would like it to be, if I'm honest with you. Right? I'd rather be honest than say to you, yay, it's all working and it's flying and it's flowing. You know, I think we understand much more about manufacturing cars and vehicles than we would developing these materials, you know. So that's not to say that it's not happening. So at the moment, the European Straw Building Association have action groups, and within those action groups, we are mapping out the scale of as to what we can do and what we can manage, because for some people, if they approach their own region and they want to build with straw, then some people don't even know where they would need to go to. So what we are doing within the European Straw Building Association and also Straw Building UK is mapping out some of these resources so that it's more open source as opposed to just a few people having it to themselves and not opening up the pipeline. We really need to open up the pipeline. And once that's done, and once it's more commonplace, I think you will see, in fact, I know what you will see is a rippling effect. More and more people will be getting onto it and more people will be working with it. So, you know, the example I gave you earlier about EcoCocon, the guys who are building straw panels from Lithuania, you know, I think Bjorn wouldn't mind me saying this. Bjorn is the CEO for EcoCocon. It makes no sense for someone who is in, let's say, Italy, and they want to have straw panels within their country to have to import from Lithuania. That to me doesn't make any sense. And it's not difficult to work and build these materials. If you're a carpenter, it's just about applying plywood or wood to panels and compressing it, and that's it. What EcoCocon have done now, and they've been working on this for a little while, so to be fair, they're kind of ahead of the game, and there are a few companies that are doing it, but not many, is that they are now working at higher numbers. So they have a factory now that can really push out this material at quite a rapid rate. And that needs to happen around Europe and around the world, if I'm honest with you. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I have a follow-up before
Yeah.
just again in the round, if anyone has a question for Cypren, please just raise your Zoom hand or switch on your video. I see a couple of videos. I will come to you guys in a second. Just one question. I didn't understand it. So Cypren, could you elaborate? If I'm in Switzerland, most of Architects for Future members are the biggest group is in Germany. Could you say about maybe Switzerland or Germany, how the situation is there? Would I have to buy a eco-cocoon panel from Lithuania, or are there also local products that maybe in the best case are produced regionally?
Yeah. There are there's local organizations in Germany. You know, I've put in the chat for your information the German straw building network, and they'll be able to signpost to you where you would need to go to acquire straw panels, if that's what you wanted to build with. If you wanted to build with straw bales, and they'll be able to tell you where you can buy that locally in your area. And it's the same for Switzerland. Switzerland, Dirk Sharma is just flying at the moment. The work that this man is doing is phenomenal. So it's not as if any of this material is new to what's happening in Switzerland either. I think it needs to have, you know, if I gave you the example about, you know, cars, more people understand where to buy a car than they would know to buy straw, so that they can build a straw home. We need to promote and to escalate to really make it at a bigger scale, this information, so that it's more widely available for people who want to do it. So if I'm honest with you, it's not just the architects, engineers, surveyors and carpenters who are needed. It's also a wider network as well. So people who understand communication. So if you're really, really good at social networking and you understand AI, you know, everybody needs to be on board with this too. To spread
Thanks
the
so
word.
much. Sorry?
To spread the word.
We're trying to spread the work a little bit tonight. So for anybody from Germany, the link is in the chat, FASBA. I see fasba.de. I take this at your recommendation. If there's, and I saw in the chat, I think it's mostly architects here tonight. If there is any architect from Germany who wants to build with straw, that might be a good first step to talk to this organization. Equally, I understood in Switzerland. A quick question, Antje, do you have a question for Cypren? You have your video on? She doesn't have and then I see Otto. Also the question to you, Otto. Do you have a question for Cypren? Because I see that you have your video on.
Not presently, no. I'm just learning more and more. I'm just trying to get more and more information. I'd love to build my own house, and I think this is the way to go, to be honest. With straw, it is sustainable, it is fireproof, and I'm just looking into getting more and more information for myself. Really, a little bit selfish maybe, but I think if I work in construction, so if I can spread the message, I will.
Fantastic. Well, Cypren, we don't have a question, but we have a convinced listener. I like this even more. Fantastic.
Well done, Otto. Good for you. I appreciate for some people it's quite a leap of faith, you know, because it's a material that's not conventionally understood. It's not something that is widely known. But look at us now, right? We're all talking here. How many people are here? There are over 30 of us sat here now on a machine, and we're looking at a screen and we're talking to each other. At least you're listening to me. Now, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I wouldn't have told you that this was possible. Okay, I would have laughed at you if you told me I'd be able to talk to people on a TV screen or anything like that. So you have to really, really understand that this is very much feasible. What would be really great for all of you, if in 10 years time, you can say, you know what, I started it, or I was part of it, and then you can look back and you can say, hey, yeah, you know, I was there, I was at the beginning, you know. So you could be the cool cats. You could be the cool cats.
So to become part of it, Cypren, I have a question. You showed one project, maybe you can show it again. There was not a skyscraper, but let's say, I think you call it 12-story house.
Yeah.
The tallest. Can you, because if I imagine I'm an architect, I would like to do this, and I don't know how. Is there some, you mentioned a project, the Upstraw project, I think I noted down, that was connected possibly to this high-rise tower. Could you tell us how this was made? Is there maybe something practical to take away from here? Can I basically in my plan exchange my current XPS with just my XPS panel with a straw panel? Or I don't know how this let's just call it a skyscraper, even though it's just 12 stories. But is there something from these from this large scale project that we can take away from?
Okay.
If I'm doing my next multi-story housing project here in Zurich.
Yeah, yeah. So you're conflating two separate things. That you said Upstraw. Upstraw was a project that ran over, I think it was 3 years, 4 years. 2018, I think it was. I ought to remember, I was part of it, but I can't remember. But we finished around 2021. And the aim of the project was to promote straw building to the public sector. So for people or organizations or local authorities who were building on a mass level, a scaled level for social housing, that was the aim of the project, was to spread the knowledge around that. And one of the outcomes from that, for each nation that took part, was to build a straw building. And in the UK's case, we built a structure called the Bale House, which was in Hastings. Now that was a 1-story building. It's a visitors centre, and that was made of straw bales. The other image that I showed in that slide was of the 12-story, which had nothing to do with Upstraw. I was just trying to demonstrate the difference and the advance that we've come in that time. Nobody knew back then, and this was only 4 years ago, that there would be a 12-story straw building. If you'd have told me that 4 years ago, I would have said, yes, brilliant, thank you very much, let's do it. But I didn't think it was going to happen so quickly. And this demonstrates to me what the human endeavor is like. So for the 12-story site, it's based in Sweden. And
can you show it again? Just
it's a timber frame. And let me go back to that. It's a timber frame, and the organization that is responsible for it is EcoCocon. So this is the one, the bottom right. This is presently under construction, and I can send you, I will share the slides, and I'll also send you the links to the architects responsible for it. Okay, so all the information and the drawings are on their website, and it's all freely available for you to see. And they want for you to see this because this is a huge moment. You know, it's the biggest, the tallest building in the world made of straw, and it's happening in Sweden. It's fantastic. I'm really, really happy for Bjorn and Paul and everyone else within EcoCon and that team, because they've really worked hard to bring this to the public's imagination, to the public's attention, because it really, really demonstrates, if I'm honest with you, how far we've come and where we can go with this. One of the things that a lot of countries are dealing with is homelessness, okay, and certainly within the UK anyway. And if local authorities want to scale and want to build taller buildings to house many more people, then this is the perfect way to go. Because at the moment, a lot of the organisations, certainly within the UK, they're just using the same old methods, you know, concrete and steel, which means in about 30, 40, 50 years' time, we're going to be renovating those properties again. So when I say renovating, some people call it rehabilitation. In the UK, we call it retrofit. So, you know, in 50 years' time, we'll be retrofitting those sites again. So what EcoCocon are really demonstrating to people is that this is going to be the future and this is the way to go. Now, I say this is the way to go. I'm well aware that there are other bio-based materials out there, but straw is by far the most advanced when it comes to building to this scale. I've yet to see a hemp building at this to this height. If anybody can tell me, then I'd be open to looking at it. But to my mind, straw is by far the leader when it comes to bio-based materials.
And just to be clear, it's the lower right picture,
Yes.
but also the left one. I guess that's a close-up shot.
No, the left.
It's
The
not
left.
okay. I misunderstood.
The left picture is a close-up shot of the right hand picture.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
But
so
is it a similar system?
no, it's well, no.
No,
So
okay.
the right hand picture is straw panels.
Okay.
Bottom,
Gotcha.
the right bottom, the tall building is straw panels. The left image and the top right are straw bale.
Very nice. Thanks so much. I saw Cypren that Thomas Dimov would like to join the discussion as a question. Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we are a Zurich, Switzerland-based building materials supplier.
Yeah.
And we supplied some blown-in straw for a 6-story, multi-story building in Lausanne for a building cooperative some 2 or 3 years ago. So this is also a very large building. I think it's the largest straw insulated building in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And it was built by a really big company, which is one of the biggest in the western part of Switzerland. And I would say that there was not a real challenge. We just exchanged some other conventional insulation materials by this blown-in straw. And we provided also the machine to blow it in because you need a little bit more like stronger machine. But this was really a conventional construction, I would say, timber frame construction. And it was just filled with blown-in straw. That's all. And it's a passive house. On the inside, it was cladded with some clay panels and plastered with clay. It's called Ecopolis. That's the name of the cooperative. It's in Lausanne. And the architectural office is ATBA in Geneva. It's not their first straw building. So the first big straw building they did is in Geneva. It's also 6-story high and was made with straw base. But from this experience, they wanted to do something with a more industrial way in building with straw. So they choose the blown-in straw.
Yes, blown-in straw is a method that we are very much endorsing too. For those of us in the UK, especially when it comes to working with straw, on the whole, we've mainly been using infill or load bearing with straw bales or the straw panel system. But there's a lot to commend. There's a lot of good stuff to come from blown-in straw. Well done, Thomas. That's really good to hear. Really good to hear.
Maybe I can just add that one argument for using blown-in straw instead of straw bales is that the lambda value is much better.
Yeah.
So we have got a lambda value of 0.041 or 0.2. And I think that generally they calculate with 0.052 for straw bales. So which means that you can make a less thick wall, a thinner wall, so which is very often an argument.
Yes.
So the wooden structure can be lighter, not so big, and you can have build it at lesser cost. So I think this is, and also it's more reliable when you build it in a prefab environment, like in a timber construction company, and at a bigger scale. Yeah.
Yeah. It's It's definitely, I think you're doing such a good job there, Thomas, because, whoops, I've gone back, because there's a lot to be said about that, you know. Can I stop sharing? There's a lot to be said about that. I think, I think we're just scratching the surface when it comes to blown-in straw, and I've heard so much, so many positive remarks about it too. But yeah, keep up the good work, and if you want to share the information in the chat so that people can go to the website.
Yes, thank you so much, Thomas. I also enjoyed it. The link to the cooperative is in the chat from on, but maybe if you have any more links to the architecture office or the building material company, it'd be great. There is a question, I think, from David Lehner.
Yeah.
David.
Yes. Thank you for hearing me. I'm currently on my way, so I can't share the video. But I just wanted to note that we are a building company based in Vienna, in Austria, and we expertise in building with the building materials timber, straw, and clay in a prefabricated manner. So essentially, we are building timber frames, prefabricated timber frames, insulated with straw insulation, and every building element is clad with clay plaster.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
the clay plaster in combination with the straw makes very good fire resistance, and
Yeah.
is also used as vapor barrier occasionally, and as insulation layer for electrical insulations. And we do this in a very industrialized manner. So we have a factory where we prefabricate wall, ceiling, and roof elements, and deliver them to the building site where the elements get assembled.
Yeah.
So if there's further interest into this from anyone, I will post our website address to the chat.
Please
Please
do.
do. Please do.
Yeah.
We will, yeah.
Don't hesitate, David. Go for it.
Yeah.
The more people know about you and what you're doing and what Thomas is doing, the better, honestly. And you know, I appreciate you may not want too much work, but I'm happy to send people your way because it's only good. It's only good for this community and for people who want to understand how to build with it, you know?
Yeah, thank you. I will share the information. I'm happy if there's some interest. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you so much, David. That's great. So for everybody interested, I'm just going to add, Thomas just added some information on the building in Lausanne in the chat. David is going to share his information from his company. So please all have a look, and maybe another time to everybody else, if you can leave your contact information, your LinkedIn profile possibly, if you want to connect to the people here. We have a couple of more minutes before we have to close. That's why I want to open again. Anyone who has a question, please come forward. Cypren is here a couple of minutes more. I would be interested, Cypren, or maybe also Thomas, because I love what you guys are talking about. I love that you show these projects. I love it's 12-story, or I understood in Lausanne it was 6, I think. So I love it's not the 1-story little single hut that in the forest. It seems like large-scale, scalable solutions. But then why do I walk around Zurich and still see 90%, 95%, let's say, conventional insulation system? Is there like some downsides to it? Is it too expensive? Do people not trust it? Is there something that you need to communicate to architects or real estate companies that they're not yet getting from your material? Because I love everything, but I'm just seeing a very different reality.
Thomas, do you mind if I answer that, and then maybe you can come in? I'm interested to hear your view. It really stems back to what I was saying earlier about the perception about building with straw. You actually answered your own question to a degree, because you were talking about, you know, the little house in the forest. You know, people just don't see this kind of concept on a wider scale. So what I said earlier when I was going through my presentation, actually it was after the presentation, is that this type of material needs to be spoken about in wider circles. So, you know, at the moment, everybody has a mobile phone, right? Or a cell phone, whatever you want to call it. You know, 30 years ago, as I was saying about the computer, not many people had access to that. Now, if you want to go and buy a cell phone, it costs you, you know, a few dollars or a few sterling or euros. It's not going to be extremely expensive unless you go for the top end. So what we need to do is to talk about it on a wider scale so that it's not just, this isn't just the kind of thing that people who are affluent and who can build with this. We want to enable this to be wider so that it's cheaper for people to build. So in relation to the cost of the materials, it's not that much different in terms of costing to conventional materials. So yes, you can purchase straw relatively cheaply, but it comes down to the costings might come down to the labor aspect too. So if you're going to put both types of systems, you know, the conventional system and building with bio-based materials, they would more or less cost the same. But where bio-based materials wins is that in the long term, you would save more. Yes, the person who's working in that building that's made of bio-based materials or who lives in that building made of bio-based materials saves significantly more because you do not have to spend so much money fueling to energize that property. And when I say fueling, I don't just mean keeping yourself warm in the winter or autumn, but also in the summertime when it's really cold, having lots of air conditioning, because the way straw as a material works is that the flow of the material enables you to be cool in the winter and in the summertime. Sorry, be cool in the summertime and warm in the winter. So the benefits surpass anything, but it really comes down to policy, and that's the reason why the French are so much more further than anyone else, because they put it in their regulations. So I was saying earlier, if you have the will and you have the desire, then engage with your local politicians. If that isn't going to help you, if you don't feel it's going to benefit you and you think it's a waste of time, well then get on with it and do it on your own, and other people will follow.
Okay, but then I take from your answer, Cypren, that because I asked what might be, let's say, missing or why is it not scaling, your answer, as I took it, was with all the advantages, the one thing that helps to scale is what the French are doing. So maybe we should look at the French model if we would like to push straw more into the mainstream. Now, I just wanted to also hear from Thomas, and then I think we're already at the end of our discussion here. Thomas, you're a Swiss guy. I saw you already wrote in the chat, but I want to have a takeaway for myself, Architects for Future Zurich, on the Swiss case. Is there something, Thomas, that you can tell us how we can make straw building in Switzerland? And now I'm just in the Swiss case, what we can do or should do to make straw building more mainstream here. Is there something you could share with us?
Well, I just put some information in the chat. So there is an association which is maybe not so well known. It's a member of ESBA. It's called Strohpalia. It's not very active. It's not been very active in the last years, but it's still existing. I put the link in the chat. And in my opinion, I'm mainly working with the framework of larger projects. I think there should be an EPD or some eco-balance figures for blow-in straw. This is one argument. This is against the use of straw, blow-in straw, and then of straw in general, because they are asking for these figures to have, for example, a Minagi Eco standard building in Switzerland, which is the passive house standard, ecological passive house standard building. So if you don't have the figures, then yeah, it's difficult. So this is not an argument for private people, but owners, but maybe for bigger projects, yes. But in yeah, I don't see other inconveniences, other arguments that are against this. It's, yeah.
Well, thanks for the answer. Still some work to do. I mean, I'm taking from both of you a lot of optimism towards straw. I share it. I hope it will scale more and more and more. Maybe we have done a little part ourselves here with this evening. I'm looking to the watch, to the time. It's almost 8. Is there a last question? I see Simone just put on her video. I'd say if you have a last burning question, Simone, would you like to ask that? Otherwise, I think, slowly come to the end.
Simone.
Hi, hello, Cypren. Hi, Thomas. Yes, well, I'm sorry to butt in again, like I always do. I just wanted to mention that I've just been to the French gathering about straw bale building. You know, the RFCP has called, and everybody, well, they came together and they talked for 2 days. And the amazing thing was, it was not just architects, it was not just builders. There were people from the local fire brigades interested in the subject, wanting to learn more about how to deal with straw in their profession. There were building controllers, so people from the government, from the municipality that will have to check the plans. They were there, and everybody was saying, well, we have to do our homework. We have to learn about this material, so we don't have to ask the architects to deliver. And this interest is actually fired by the government, because the government said that, well, we need to push ecological building, so we need to make sure that we know all about it. So they send their people to the gatherings of the RFCP. As far as I understand it, that's how it works. So I was really, really amazed at the variety of people present, and the questions that were asked were completely different, because I mean, architects ask questions like architects do. For instance, the problem about building with straw in urban situations in Germany, for instance. Well, in Germany, it's different anyway, because we're just nuts about laws and regulations and things. So North Rhine-Westphalia says if you're taller than 7, I think, meters, then you're a class 4 building, and then you're not allowed to use bio-based materials for insulation, which is already nuts. I have argued in one project before that factually, if you use hemp that's been coated with lime, so limecrete basically as an insulation, then it's not it's a bio-based material, but it doesn't work like a biological material. And well, the local fire brigade, they let that through, but the project didn't come to fruition because, well, the bank pulled out. But never mind. There are always ways around it, but in Germany they say, well, you can't do bio-based, but if you can, then there are other things that may be a problem. If I imagine Zurich, then if you're building something new, it's probably not a problem to build with straw. But if you're doing a retrofit, so if you're trying to insulate an existing building with straw, then probably you would have to talk to the fire brigade, or you have to, I don't know, the thickness of the wall, you know, because you insulate from the outside. And with other materials, you can go and insulate from the inside. I mean, if you use light clay or something, then you can also go from the inside. But this is not what we're talking about here. So Yes, I think that the main thing is that we need to get more people interested from different professions, like building control, fire brigade, or anybody else who might be interested. And that's just an opinion, because that's what the French do. So
Yes.
let's go copy them. So
Yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. I 100% agree with what she's just said. You know, if what she just said echoes what I was saying a moment ago about bringing in all players, all actors. It's not just down to the architects, engineers, or the carpenters. You know, your local schools need to be talking about it too. You know, if a school was built with this material, they themselves would be saving a lot when it comes to the use of energy, and schools benefit from it healthily for the children too. One of the things, just before we round this off, Hans, I wanted to plug the ESBG, which is the European Straw Building Gathering, which you will see Simone there, no doubt. It's in September. From the 18th to the 21st of September, and this year it's going to be in Catalonia in Spain. So come and see us in the warmth of Catalonia, and there you will be entertained and be talking to everybody who can be very excited about straw, building with straw. We're all muted.
I'm muted. I just realized. I love this, Cypren. Thank you so much for the last comments, Cypren, also for your invitation. I just see it was posted by Thomas in the chat. By the way, to everybody, the last couple of minutes there was a couple of interesting posts in the chat. Please check that out too. Take maybe the chat with you, copy paste it, so you have the information. We slowly have to come to an end. Cypren, let's learn from the French. If we're in Germany, let's learn from FASPA. Let's learn from everybody's optimism and excitement. Let's talk to Thomas Dimov if you want to build with straw in Switzerland. And I think we now wrap this up. Thank you very much, Cypren, that you shared your time with us tonight. We're very thankful. As we said, anybody who would like to rewatch this, we're going to put this on YouTube soon. Also, everybody who's still interested in sustainable building, we're going to have the next web seminar of Architects for Future on the 11th of March. Cypren, maybe this is also interesting for you. Götz Hilber from Remater is going to come and talk about their ceiling system. Remater is building with robots prefabricated ceilings out of wood and loam, load-bearing ceilings out of load-bearing loam. Very sustainable, very new. We hope that maybe it's a good combination for straw. We're going to finish up here, guys. Cypren would be available if you have follow-up questions to connect on LinkedIn. I hope that's okay for you.
I've put my contact details in the chat as well.
Fantastic. We thank you a lot. I will leave the chat open here, but I will close the formal part of the evening. If anyone would like to stay on a little bit longer or exchange, please do so. I think, Cypren, you have to now go on, as I understand. We hope we made a little contribution to making straw more mainstream this evening, and I hope we see many more straw projects. Thank you so much, Cypren.
Thank you for the invitation, Hans. Well done, you. And thank you for everybody for listening tonight. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. And I hope you all build more and more with straw.
Thank you.
Ciao.